So today is the 3rd of August. We have polls to go over. We have a map to fill in. We're going to be looking at 538. We're going to be looking at real clear polling if we must. So we are going to start geographically rather than in any other order with the Pacific Coast and California, Washington by more than 10 by some margin. No way they're going to flip. But we did have a poll the other day that gave us information on Oregon, which says in the two-way race and the five-way race it's only +5. Now recently we've seen, obviously, nationwide it's moved towards the Democrats again after it moved towards Trump for a few months. Now it's moved back after Biden stepped down, but this really circumvents the narrative at the moment, heading way further towards Republican. Whether it is just an outlier or not, we can check on 538. But really a quite unusual one. As you can see, Biden was up by 12 and 11, not many polls really coming out of here, but then down to 5 and 5. That is just unbelievable, which it's a likely margin, but if it was 0.5% lower, it'd be a lean. How can Oregon be a lean? It's not going to flip. There's pretty much no chance of it flipping. It hasn't done in a very long time, but very interesting that it's moving that way despite the national narrative. Then we have Hawaii, which is going to stay blue despite the reaction to the fires from the Democrats. Now we have Alaska, which is going to stay red. We have all of these mountain Great Plains states, which are always going to stay red as we head down towards the deep south and through here. So as you can see, Republicans already at 120 and the Democrats at 78. We can also put Nebraska at large in there. So we have Colorado, which is polling at about 8%, I believe, as the margin. There hasn't been a Harris poll yet, but 6 and 10. So it's not safe, but it's likely, and it on election day will it be more than 10? Maybe. And New Mexico is pretty much the same, around 9-8%. It was not going to flip. Texas and Florida tend to be in the same boat. They're around 9-10% as well. They're not going to be flipping. They're not going to have any movement there. Even though Harris is starting to build up forces in Florida again, which Joe Biden had effectively shut down. So really quite strange thinking there from Harris. Now, we have these two states down here, which were not really swing states anymore, not too long ago. They were, let's have a look. Nevada was certainly, as you can see here, +10 for Trump. This is 2-3 weeks ago. It was +10. And now we're looking at Harris +2. These are the Bloomberg polls. These were wildly inaccurate and outliers, so we kind of have to ignore the Bloomberg ones in here. But +1, +2, +3 against Biden, but just unbelievable. You'd have thought the no tax on tips thing was going to make a bigger difference. It still might, but certainly very interesting as it's getting a lot closer. And right now it's looking like a tilt margin rather than a lean, which is just insane. But we will take into account the previous polls and we'll say that it is still a lean. Arizona's another one, pretty much the same situation as Nevada. As we can see, it hasn't quite swung so far back. It was at 8, so not the peak of Nevada, but still we're down to 5. This is a Democrat poll, so you know it will favour the Democrats, of course. So Arizona certainly looks a little bit more safe, which Republicans will be happy about because it is worth more in the Electoral College vote. Nebraska's 2nd district is another one that we don't get a lot of polls from, and we're just going to have to kind of make a judgment call. It was even in July. Biden was up by 5. This is in a Republican poll, but then in a independent poll, Trump is up 3. So really, it's hard to understand the situation there. This is also a Republican poll. So I think right now, given the national situation, moving towards Democrat it only makes sense that this is tilting, because this has tended to flip-flop throughout the whole election process. So I think it's safe to say that it will be Democrat right now, but in the long run, it may change. So, Minnesota was another one that was really shifting quite violently towards Democrats. So, as we can see here, it was kind of flipping between. We got a Biden +2, and then in the five-way race, it was +1 for Trump. Then Harris is up 6, and now up 10 in Survey USA, which is another one that maybe might lean a little bit too far towards Democrat. But Telegraph has it in the five-way race at a +3 for Harris. I certainly think it's getting to the point where it's going to be likely soon if the trends continue, which there's no guarantee they will. But I think right now I can only put it as a lean. I can't go any further than that, I don't think. So, next we have Wisconsin, which is one that it's one that in the Rust Belt, if Trump's going to win any of them, which he certainly looks like he'll win a couple at the moment, it will be Wisconsin. We have the Bloomberg one here, it has Harris +2. These polls tend to underestimate Trump, so we're going to have to take into consideration previous events and say that if Harris is +2 now, I think it was 7 points wrong last time, the aggregate polls. So we have to take that into account and say that obviously we can't apply a +7, but say that there is a margin for error a little bit bigger than usual. As we can see, Trump down here is ahead of Harris. This is in Fox though, and Bloomberg still had Trump up, which is pretty remarkable given their other polls were just incredibly outlandish. And Emerson in July had Harris +1. I do think it's tilting Trump right now. I think it's trending towards lean though. I do think it's going more right as Harris's campaign just completely explodes day by day. So, next you have Illinois, that's going to stay. That's at about 14 points at the moment. And then Michigan, this is really one of the three prizes on the board at the moment, or four, I guess you could say, with Wisconsin. So, this was the most ridiculous one. The Bloomberg had Harris +12, and as you can see down here, we've got a 3 from the Telegraph, we've got +1 from Fox, we've got another +2 from Fox, so, and Emerson had it +2. So, at the moment, it's looking like Trump is up by, that's Democrat. The Republicans are up by a lean margin of about 2 to 3 points, but I think that's only going to get further away, maybe not further away, but as in it won't trend as viciously as the rest of the country has towards Democrat, because the Rust Belt, Kamala Harris is just poison. She's just absolute poison to that area of the country, and she's really not turning on those voters, and they won't be showing up for her. So, Ohio is another one that's, I think it might be around 7%, 8% still, but it's kind of a safe state without being safe. As we can see, 10, 9, 10, 7, 8, 8, 8. So, and these are, well, that's the Kennedy poll, that's the Republican poll. So, it's certainly bordering on safe. I think you can't call it safe because there's the highest poll is 10. So, we'll keep it in likely, but realistically, I don't think it's there. So, as we could see on the map, actually, if we go back to it, Trump is already at 251, which would mean he just needs to win Pennsylvania and it's game over. And so Wisconsin is the only one that he could lose in this scenario, as Nevada's pretty much safe. Well, not safe, but as in it's not a tilt. So, really, quite interesting. And this makes the Nebraska district a little bit more important, because that one vote could be the difference between, if Trump takes Virginia, loses Michigan, it could be the difference between him pushing it to the House or having the outright victory. So, really, each vote will matter in this election. If you can pick off New Hampshire as Trump, which is not looking likely anymore, but if you can, that'd be massive, And that could be the difference. Ultimately, right now, it's looking like Harris, even on this boost, still isn't winning. So you'd have to say that Trump's still the heavy favourite. But we'll have to see. Georgia, this is the one where the Harris impact was supposed to have the biggest swing, because she can get the black voters going like 2020, not the same as 2020 with the BLM stuff, but certainly she can get them going to carry on voting and not stay at home or even vote for Trump. But it's really not trended as far as you think. It's gone +2, +3, +5, and then as we started to see it trend in the last week or two, it's now +2 still. So still, it's a lean to tilt towards Trump, which is really, really bad news for the Democrats. Still a long time to go, obviously, but really that could make all the difference. So we have South Carolina, that's safe. We have North Carolina, which is a really interesting one. So it's not safe, but and it's really not being considered as in play. These are the Bloomberg ones, so disregard these. And then the Telegraph has it at 3. That's not far. That's really in play. That's a lean. So really, it is in play. Whether Harris wants to devote resources to it and thinks it's winnable, that's a different story. But it's certainly more in play than people are giving coverage. People really aren't talking about North Carolina, which is very interesting. Mainly because Virginia's come into play, which is more of a shocking revelation. As we can see here, Trump's just winning all the polls at the moment. These are from the start of July when Harris wasn't even the nominee. And then you've got down here, well, these are still the middle of July, but we've got Trump up by 4, Trump up by 1, and Trump up by 4, 1. So Trump in Virginia performs way better than Biden, obviously, because this is Biden's sort of home area, I suppose, with the Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. But so Harris is really not going to have that home benefit. Whether she takes on Josh Shapiro or not, I don't know why he'd want to join this ticket, but he could make the difference as vice president in terms of a couple of maybe 1 or 2 percentage points, and maybe that is the difference. But really, the vice president, I don't think is going to make all that much impact to her campaign, because she is just self-imploding at the moment. These rallies have just been terrible for her. So, or the rally she did the other day with Megan Thee Stallion, just absolutely atrocious. So we're going to have a tilt towards Virginia. I don't think we could call it a lean, really. You've got the +4 there, but you've got a +1, you've got a 1, a 2. I don't want to go to a lean. I think that's a little bit too far. So we'll keep it how it is. But that 305, that is quite something. That is a big old margin. So next we have Pennsylvania, which is going to go to Trump as things stand. Democrat poll has Trump up by 1, and then a partisan poll has Harris up by 3. Then we have a +1 for Trump, +4. These are the Bloomberg ones as well. So really, the Bloomberg is just all over the place. There's no sort of trend. There's no correlation between them. They're just need to be disregarded. Fox even has Trump down 2 though in this poll. So really, Pennsylvania's all over the place. I do think at the moment Trump's still riding a bit of a high from the incident that occurred in Pennsylvania, and I think that will be fresh in the minds of those people more than anyone else, and it will keep getting regurgitated to them. So, I mean, right now this is looking like a tilt, which you couldn't say beforehand, as there are more polls from before, obviously. But it feels more like a lean because it's come down, and this feels like the best it's going to get for Harris at the moment. So I think I'd go lean still. And then the last district that Trump is going to get, the last constituency, is Maine, because he is dominating Maine's 2nd district, and Harris is dominating, or the Democrats really are dominating the 1st district. So the 2nd district is, look, Trump up 20 and 14, and the 1st district it's 16 and 8, but I think it's pretty much safe for Harris. So then we look at Maine at large. We have Harris up by 8, up by 9, so pretty much a likely in there. Then we have the rest of New England, which is certainly interesting. So New Hampshire's kind of got stuck around 6, 7, 6, 5, 6. So it's still likely, but again, one that could come into play on election day as we get closer. It could start to swing a little bit more towards Trump, especially because Harris is on this high. So now we have Vermont, which I'm sure is very much in Harris's corner. A lot of far left voters up there. We have no polls. So we're just going to have to make the assumption it is. I mean, we've got 30 and 31 for Biden. So I don't see it flipping, to be honest. We can go to, where should we go next? We can go to, let's go Delaware and Maryland. We have no polls coming out of Delaware. So I've seen people talk about, well, the Biden factor in Delaware is wearing off because he's obviously not on the ticket anymore, and it could become within 10 points. Now, it could do, but I don't want to make that call just yet, and I think Delaware will remain deep blue as things stand. Maryland, we have Biden up by 26, 17, 22, 28. So that is a stronghold in there. So is DC, which there's actually no polls for because it's about 90% last time. So no need to poll there. New Jersey, we are looking at... This is another interesting one. So coefficient had Trump up by 1. This was a shocker. But we haven't had any polls since then. But it's definitely swung back towards Biden. But Emerson had it within 6 and 5. I mean, this was when Trump was doing really well. So, really, again, it's a judgment call. I think it's likely still. I don't think it's more than 10 points. But I certainly think it's around 5, 6, 7 points at the moment. Then we have New York, which is going to go blue, even though it's sort of started trending and then it stopped, and now, as we can see, Harris is up by 11. So I don't think again, is it going to be safe on election day? Probably likely. And we have 3 states remaining. Can Harris get to the 200 mark? The answer is yes, because we have Massachusetts, which is absolutely gonna go blue, as we can see, 18 for Biden, plus 21, plus 36, plus 29. So that's not flipping. Then we have Rhode Island, and we have Connecticut, and that is the end. So Connecticut, 13, 14, 13, 9. So it's still trending down. This was from last year, however. So a lot's changed since then, but realistically, it's another safe one. Even if it's less than 10 points, it's not. There's literally 0 chance of it flipping. And the last one, the smallest state, apart from DC as a district, we have Rhode Island. It's kind of all over the place, really. 14, 11, 17, 19, 20, and 7. So Rhode Island, well, you could put it likely if you want, but again, it's just like Connecticut. Even if it is within 10, it's not moving, so there's no point. And that's the final map. So I did one about a month ago of Joe Biden, and he was under 200. So Minnesota's one that they've clawed back, and this is when New Jersey was really on the edge of flipping. The route to a Harris win would be winning Georgia. That's one of the key ones, and Virginia. Those are very important. And then she could, even if she takes Michigan, Wisconsin, you're still not there. So then you'd have to take Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, try and flip North Carolina. You'd have to take one of them. So realistically, is that going to happen? No, because Wisconsin is, I think, the most safe out of all of the Rust Belt ones. And then you've got Michigan, which is still towards Trump at the moment, and Georgia is one that come election day I think will be swinging back a little bit, but right now it's as in back to the Democrats, but right now it's staying Republican. So really the best bet is Pennsylvania. Just hope you can get Pennsylvania. You have to. That is the big prize that's left on the board at 19. Then Georgia, because I think that will be the easiest one for you to take back. Then, if you want to go for Nevada, but it's 6 points, I mean that's that could be, if you get Arizona and Nevada, that's 17 points. But if you just take Michigan, that's 15. So you could pour resources into one state rather than two. You'd much rather do that. So Michigan, you're also pretty much going to have to take, and then you'd have to take Virginia as well. So, and that would get you over the line. And then you could leave Wisconsin, leave Nevada, leave Arizona. There's still so many left on the board right now. I think these can be considered swing states at the moment, and Wisconsin. And so I think, as we can see, I think the electoral floor is, for Harris, the floor. I don't know if you'd include Minnesota in there, and then this district in Nebraska. So really, her floor is 202, and Trump's floor is, maybe you can take North Carolina out, and you could say 219, but I think North Carolina's going to be in there, so 235. So Trump needs to win, what, 2-3 states? If you take Pennsylvania and Georgia, that's the end, that's it. So really, it's too far to call the combinations at the moment of how you can win or not. But, and actually, I do want to just talk about this Nebraska district. Let's say North Carolina goes here. That could be the difference between going to the House and not. So really, and winning outright. So really, still too many combinations left to call, but certainly interesting to look at the moment. And as we fill in these states, we can show the final map for today, which is Virginia's down here, that's down here, and I think, as we put North Carolina as well, then I think that would be the final map for today, 325 to 213, and whether you want Pennsylvania to be a tilt or a lean, that's up to you. But I think 325 to 213, that's the August prediction right now.